All right, and turn this down. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. It's Friday, August 25th, 2023. Hard to believe that we're done with almost 8 months of the year this year. This year has just sort of flown by. All right, our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories. We do have one landing, and for those people that are here in person today, we have donuts to share. So you'll hear about that landing here in just a moment. And for those online, if you were here in person, there would be donuts and donut holes to eat. We'll then go to our 30-second introductions. We'll have everybody put that information in the video into the chat. And for those here in person, we'll let you give your 30-second introduction. We'll then go to our committee reports. We'll hear back the practice interview team. We'll have the career tip of the week, and then our main event right around the top of the hour. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter your questions into the chat box for the speaker. For those on Facebook, thank you for joining us. Please just enter any questions you have into the comment field. We are monitoring both feeds. We'll be sure to get your questions answered for you. Please note this event is being recorded. It's currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window do not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2007, I took over the North Dallas group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. And like I said, the prior leader landed a job and I took this over in 2007. In 2008, I saw there was a need and I created a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or I always have copies with me in person. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a moment. Well, we like to start the meeting off with good news. Like I said, we have donuts sitting here in the room for an announcement I'll make here in just a second. Anybody online have any good news to share? Going once, going twice, anybody? All right, well, let me tell you about the landing that brought us donuts this morning. Bill Park, he's not available to be with us because he got a job and started working like 3 days later. So he is very busy already. So he wanted to share his good news. He says, I've landed. I'm now the Director of Environmental Compliance for Arctic Glacier Premium Ice. I interviewed with the COO on Friday afternoon. This was a week ago Friday. Within an hour of the interview, the SVP of Quality and EHS contacted me and made me a job offer. I'm so pleased to have landed. He found this job on LinkedIn, and the position was remote and open nationally. So it was a very competitive job. I think the reason I got the job is that I have a very unique set of environmental experiences that matched very well with the job requirements. I went through 5 rounds of interviews, and the entire process took 10 days, so they moved very quickly. I really want to thank you and your support for the service you provide to job seekers. This was the first time I've been without a job in his 38-year career, and I felt a little overwhelmed in the beginning with needing to update my resume, my LinkedIn profile, networking, improving my interviewing skills. Without Southlake Focus Group and Career DFW, I do not think I would have been as nearly successful in my job search. Thank you so much for what you do. So Bill's our 30-second landing from this North Dallas group. And, for those who knew Bill, the smile on his face, he always looked that way. I mean, when he came to the meetings here, he joined us for lunch several times after our meeting. And one of the unique things I remember about Bill, he told us that he had a list of, here's what he wanted from a company. Here's what he, it's 2 ways. Yes, the company has a job. They need you need to have a job. You need the money, whatever. But he had a list of requirements that he wanted out of a company to make sure that you know, the management style, what things were like at the company and stuff like that. So he knew, and this is what he focused on as he was looking for a job. So congratulations to Bill. Anybody else? One more time. Interviews? Yeah, you want to talk about it? Go ahead and grab the mic. Yeah, is the green light on? Yeah, flip it up. There we go.
Jim Parker. I've had 2 interviews over the last 3 weeks or so. About 3 weeks ago, I had an interview with a company called At Home. This is for their distribution center here in Plano. The position was for a conveyor engineer. Interview went well. Salary range was 60 to 80,000. They wanted to start me at the lower edge of that salary range because although I have a lot of credentials, I'm not a conveyor engineer. The day I was there, the warehouse was on code orange, which meant it was 1 degree away from shutting down because it was too hot inside. I did not want to start at the lower edge of the range because I've worked in warehouses. 1, it's hot. 2, they're always operating on the edge of panic. So since I was unwilling to start at the lower range, we just parted ways. Last Friday, over the last couple of weeks, I've seen ads on TV for South Dakota. Apparently, they're having a hard time getting trained people up there. So I changed my LinkedIn profile, a couple other things to say I was open to go to South Dakota. And last Friday, I got contacted by somebody for a job up in South Dakota. And this is a power company. They're looking for a plant engineer. Had an interview last Friday. It went very well. Made it through that particular interview. The recruiter that I had the interview with is going to recommend that I go to the next stage. I suspect they're going to have a hard time getting people up there to South Dakota, which is why they contacted me. And I'm from Michigan originally, so the climate's not a problem.
Right. Great. All right. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on here. What we love everybody to do, for those who are online, please enter your information into the chat window. Let us know who you are, phone, email address, position you're looking for. Give us 2 or 3 target companies. When you tell us that you just want to be a project manager, but you don't tell us any target companies, that's what we really need to know. We need to know what it is, where, what companies, because then everybody else who's with us today maybe be able to help you. For those people in the room, we'll have everybody give their 30-second introductions here in just a second. I also will use this information to update the roster. And if there's any handouts from our speaker, I'll be sure to get those out to everybody this afternoon. So you'll get an email this afternoon with everybody's contact information. So name, phone number, email address, position you're looking for, 2 or 3 target companies, then hit the return key. That way it's all in one little section. We'll put 30 seconds on the clock and we'll give everybody a little time to get started. All righty. If you're still typing away, please continue to type away. Lily, let's see here. I'm waiting at the door downstairs. You need to go back around to the main front door now. So yeah, the main front door is now open again. So that's where everybody needs to enter on the north side of the building. All right. For those people in the room, we'd like to have your 30-second introduction. So if somebody wants to grab the mic and get started, just flip the switch on. Let me pop you all up so everybody out there can see you all. And go right ahead and, oops, I should not have done that. Let's keep that mic muted. Here we go. Okay. Yep, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Enzo. I am a data scientist with a master's in electrical engineering. My track record consists of 7 publications centered around machine learning and artificial applications. My superpower consists of applying machine learning and artificial intelligence to real-world scenarios to optimize business cost as well as optimization for time. I am Enzo Hakis.
Good morning. I am Lawrence Hawkes. I go by Larry Hawkes. I'm a electrical engineer. I'm a senior technical professional, level 5 engineer. I have extensive background in either being on a team, leading teams, or people in electrical and mechanical design, simulation, and integration of hardware into the systems, prototype and production testing, systems architecture, aircraft simulations, and aircraft design. I've done everything from aircraft simulators to aircraft to magnetics. I worked at the Super Collider, the defunct National Laboratory. I am a results-driven person they come to for cost savings, schedule issues, or design problems. I am looking at targeting Bell Helicopter, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon here in the local Dallas-Fort Worth area. Again, my name is Larry Hawkes. Thank you. Bye.
We'll leave him back.
Hi, I'm Jim Parker, electrical engineer with extensive experience in technical sales and marketing. If a device has electrons running through it, I can design it, build it, test it, demonstrate it, market it, and sell it. I'm looking for a position in a small to medium-sized company that has more jobs than people because I'm good at doing lots of different things. I'm Jim Parker.
I like it. You have some target companies you want to add?
Yes, if anyone has any contacts, I'm looking for companies at either UT Southwestern, Raytheon Technologies, or Lockheed Martin Aeronautics.
I'll slide in over.
Yeah.
My name is Tyler Bauer. I'm an IT business analyst. I help most of my career has been helping traditional companies innovate, come up with new solutions to drive revenue or cut cost. And I'm looking at contacts. If anybody knows somebody from Pivotal Labs, that'd be great. And my name is Tyler Bauer.
Behind you.
Morning, everybody. I'm Jama Ball. I'm a global operations leader with a proven track record in service delivery and business ops. I have comprehensive experience facilitating continuous improvement, defining key performance indicators, monitoring operational behavior, and driving cross-functional initiatives for global companies. My skills include designing exceptional customer experiences, engineering internal processes, and creating positive work environments. I'm looking for a director level or higher role with team leadership responsibilities around service delivery and implementation. I am Jama Ball, and I'm looking for contacts at Tyler Technologies and Rippling. Thank you.
Rippling. Right.
All right, everyone can see me right here. All right, good morning, everybody. My name is William McLaughlin, and searching for a data analyst role. I help companies improve their bottom line by doing the research necessary to help them make data-driven decisions. I'm looking for contacts at CoreLogic and Leidos. Again, my name is William McLaughlin.
One more.
Yes, I'm good. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lily Kadur. I have come out of a career in software development, and I'm transitioning to a new one in cybersecurity, preferably as an IT auditor or a GRC analyst. I'm also open to the role of a security analyst. Lily Kadur.
Great. Thank you, everybody. All right. That's everybody who's with us.
Thank you.
Yep. Here we go. Turn it off. All right. Very good. Thank you. All right. If you haven't typed all your information in, please continue to do so. And like I said, we'll update the roster. We'll get that out to everybody this afternoon with everybody's contact information. All right. If you know somebody who's unemployed, please let them know about Career DFW and careerusa.org. Two totally free websites. We don't collect any personal information. They're just here to help you land your next great opportunity. If you look, the careerusa.org website just recently got rebuilt a couple of weeks ago. We're currently rebuilding the Career DFW site, and hopefully in the next 2 to 4 weeks, we'll have it up and running. If you find something wrong, something that's broken on careerusa.org, please let me know so we can get it fixed. And I'll ask everybody to do the same thing when the Career DFW website gets built. One of the things you'll find on the Career DFW website is a bunch of calendars. And on those calendars, you'll see different events that are going on. This is the everything calendar. The pink are job fairs, the gold are special workshops that are happening. The events that are in blue are networking groups that are meeting in person. Purple are those that are doing webinars. So all that information is up on the website, how to, as far as a key of what to look for and everything. So, let somebody know, if you know somebody who's unemployed, let them know about the websites. All right, the practice interview team. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile are not going to get you a job. What they'll get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So the Dallas Pit Crew is actually a spinoff from this Friday group. They started 8 or 9 years ago. A couple people said, hey, I have an interview next week. I need some practice. Can somebody help me? And a couple of people said, okay, yeah, let's go meet. And they met, and then that group grew from 3 people to 5 to 6 or 7 to 8 or 9. And pre-COVID, we had somewhere between 40 to 60 people who would show up every Wednesday at 1 o'clock to see multiple interviews. Once COVID hit, they went online like a lot of people do, but the Pit Crew is meeting online and meeting in person. So first of all, the Pit Crew is totally free. Practice your interviewing skills. Their motto is practice early, practice often. You probably need to practice 3 to 5 times to be really good at interviewing. It's been amazing. Over the last year, now that we're meeting back in person again a couple times a month, it's been really great to see somebody practice, and then they come back a month and a half later and they are so much better. They're so much more at ease. They've taken the information that we've given them. The interview lasts about 40 to 45 minutes. It's usually by a panel of 2 to 3 people who'll do the interviewing. And the nice thing is you'll get 15 minutes to 30 minutes of feedback after the session. What you said well, what you need to work on for next time, making sure your star stories are ready. They'll cover it all. I've heard several times that our panel interviews are tougher than the actual interview, because these people who are helping doing the interview, they've all been hiring managers. A lot of them are unemployed themselves. They're looking for a job, but they will go and research the company, and they're going to put you through your paces because they want to make sure you're ready, because they want you to be employed. So what you need to do is send your resume and a job description to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. Send it along with your schedule 2 to 4 days out so they can try to line up a panel for you. The Pit Crew is also meeting in person on the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays of the month. This coming Wednesday, or a week from, like 5 days from now, is actually the 5th Wednesday. So that will be online, but the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays every month, they meet right here at Christ United Methodist Church from 1 to about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they'll conduct 1 or 2 interviews, just depending on what we have lined up. So there's no online option for those 2 weeks. But if you're interested, just send a resume. They're conducting interviews online Monday through Friday between 9 and like 4:30 or something like that. So just send in with times that you're available, and they will try to schedule something for you. All right, it's time to hear about our career tip of the week. There's a brand new career tip of the week every week on the Career DFW and Career USA websites. You can go back and view any of these at your leisure when you're ready. So Rosanna, thank you for reading this week's tip of the week.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. So excited that it's Friday. All right. Well, bear with me one sec. And there we go. All right. So today's tip of the week, or excuse me, this week's tip of the week is dated August the 20th of 2023. And it's how to make a lasting first impression when job hunting. This article is by Carolyn Castrillon. So you know that saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression? It's especially true when you're job hunting. Whether it's a facial expression, lack of eye contact, or arriving to a meeting unprepared, many factors play a role in whether you'll get the next interview or job offer. Past research suggests that it takes just seconds to make a first impression. And one study conducted by Princeton psychologist Janine Willis and Alexander Todorov, revealed that all it takes is a 10th of a second to determine traits like trustworthiness. More than likely, that first impression starts before you meet in person. It's called your online presence, and recruiters rely on it to research potential job candidates. In fact, 71% of US hiring decision makers agree that looking at social media profiles is an effective way to screen applicants, according to a survey from the Harris Poll. And more than half, 55%, of those using social media to research applicants have found content that caused them not to hire the applicant. Realistically, it could take several months of job hunting to find your ideal role. By following these steps, you'll be more likely to make a stellar first impression and speed up that timeline. So first, you want to clean up your social media profiles. There's nothing worse than having a recruiter land on your Facebook page only to see posts that might be considered inappropriate. Before launching your job hunting campaign, Google yourself. That will give you a good idea of what personal brands look like, or what your personal brands look like. Then make your social media accounts private or hide any posts that you wouldn't plaster on the front page of the New York Times. If you have old accounts from your teenage years, it might be time to deactivate them. Not surprisingly, 95% of recruiters are on LinkedIn looking for job candidates. So be sure to update your profile by adding a relevant headline, skills, photo, and that's a profile and background, and summary section. Recruiters also read recommendations, so include at least 5 or more of your former bosses, colleagues, or partners. Next, invest in a tailored resume. With the economy tightening and job openings becoming more competitive, recruiters are flooded with resumes. As a result, it's more important than ever to stand out from other applicants. Not to mention that recruiters spend a mere 7.4 seconds screening your resume, according to a Latter's eye tracking study. And that means tailoring your resume and avoiding meaningless buzzwords like detail-oriented, results-driven, and team player. Instead, create an eye-catching resume by, first, being specific, using industry-specific keywords, showing quantitative results. That way, the recruiter will be excited about your candidacy and want to learn more. Now, next, you want to arrive to the interview prepared. Another way to make a great impression is to learn everything you can about the organization and the interviewers. Don't just look at the company website, also review their social media accounts, news articles, and other media coverage. In addition, talk to people in your network to get a sense of the company culture. Be ready to explain why you're interested in a particular role and company and why you'd be the best candidate. Finally, practice your answers to common interview questions. It will help you feel more comfortable and confident prior to the meeting. Next, you want to do a trial run. If you are conducting a video interview, test the equipment ahead of time to ensure that there are no technical glitches. Choose a location that is quiet with adequate lighting. Practice for the video interview as you would an in-person meeting. The number one thing that recruiters hate to see in a video is distractions. Fortunately, this is something you can easily avoid. Take steps to remove interruptions by setting your phones to silent, removing pets or putting them in another room, closing your windows to eliminate outside noises, putting a sign on your front door alerting people not to ring the doorbell. During the interview, maintain eye contact by looking at the webcam and avoid fidgeting. Listen actively by nodding when appropriate so that they know you're giving them your full attention. And finally, it's a good idea to smile throughout the interview, but not too much. That will appear unnatural. Lastly, you want to follow up after the interview. So it can be tempting to take a wait and see approach after final interview, but there are some things that you do to give yourself a competitive advantage. First, you want to send personalized thank you emails to everyone you interviewed with. If you haven't already, it's also a good idea to connect with them on LinkedIn. At the same time, you may want to attach additional information to strengthen your candidacy, like a news article, portfolio, or work samples. And then, if you haven't heard anything within the time frame they provided, send a short follow-up email. Most importantly, keep your options open and don't stop job hunting. So when job hunting, creating a positive first impression helps you stand out in a sea of qualified candidates. Don't just settle sending out a generic resume. By building your personal brand and going the extra mile, you'll be rewarded with opportunities beyond what you thought possible. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is this week's career tip of the week. Like I said, it's dated August the 20th, and it's how to make a lasting first impression when job hunting. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody.
Anna, thank you very, very much. All right. I really like this tip. I'm going to have to make this one of my favorite tips on the website. So I'll be modifying it when I get.
I like this one too, yeah.
Hold on. We have a comment here.
Yeah. Yeah, there are times when the interviewers will not give you their contact information, neither will the recruiter. So I found a way out by an email to the recruiter. First, thank the recruiter himself or herself, and then attach a document where you said thank you to the interviewer, request the recruiter to send it along, not just forward this email, but actually attach a document that has a thank you note for every interviewer.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
One more tip over here. Yeah, go ahead.
This is a comment. I had an interview earlier this week with Pacor Industry, which is Peterbilt in Denton. And the research is key important. During the interview, I was talking to the hiring manager and the technical lead, and we were going down the path of very technical, being an engineer. And I brought up the point to prove that I had researched them and said, isn't Kenworth your sister company under your corporate umbrella? And they said, oh, yes. So it put the interview over the top. So researching the company is critically important.
Great. Thank you very, very much. All right. We're coming up here in just a moment. Our main event will be with Mina Brown. She'll talk about the one-page bio, which I think is something everybody needs to have in their job search portfolio. I just want to mention upcoming sessions next Friday, being the first Friday in September. God, it's hard to believe it's already September. First Friday in September, we will do open forum. We'll talk about whatever questions you have about your job search. It'll just be sort of a free for all. Whatever you got to ask, whatever you'd like to ask, please ask or comment, and everybody here who's with us will be able to make their comments. And then in 2 weeks, Mina's cohort, Paula Asanoff, will be with us to talk all about headshots. So it's sort of the last couple of years here, I've always had Mina and Paula back and forth, just depending who volunteered to go first to be our speaker to talk about what they're doing. So our main event today is with Mina Brown. She's a coach, educator, and executive coach, author, speaker. She wrote this great book, and let me do something else so y'all can see me. Here we go. Wrote this great book. It's called Be Sharp. I think it's one of the 3 books that everybody in job seeking needs to have. The first half of the book talks all about your 30-second introduction. The back half talks all about the one-page bio. I don't know. I just think it's a great book. Be sure to get the second edition, which has all these little stripes down the side. So I've known Mina for many years now. It's probably been 10, 11, 12 years, and she's been a speaker with us at least once or twice a year over that period. So Mina, thank you for being with us, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. And I just so appreciate your support. And Paula and I early in our coaching and careers were, we met, I guess it's been 20 years now, and decided to do some things together. And that produced, I think we've written 5 books now, and counting this one as a second edition. But one thing that we really care about is the success of people when they're in job transition, when they are inside a company looking for growth and additional responsibility and visibility in a company. And Paula's expertise largely is in the document area and the resume, the bio, and some of these others. And I bring kind of a coaching and communication style to that. So Jeff, if I can share my screen, I think you have me set up, right?
Yep, you should be good to go.
All right, let's do this.
Always the most challenging part of every presentation.
So can you see my screen?
And you're good to go.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So the one-page bio, and as Jeff says, and I agree, I think practically everyone in a job search for a variety of reasons should have a one-page bio. And think about it this way, even if you write and create and polish your one-page bio, but you never give it to anybody, that's still a very worthwhile activity to think through what would go into it and to think through what the important messages are and how you would tell your story. So the bio itself is a critical document, in my opinion, for communicating with the audience that you're targeting, with the people that you want to get you. And so the first question we like to think about is, why do I need one? I've been doing my job search pretty well. I heard we've got quite a few interviews kind of going on. So you're getting in front of people. That's a good thing. But we know, and I know Jeff teaches this over and over again, networking is absolutely essential in a successful job search. Not everybody loves the word networking. They don't necessarily love to do it. They certainly may not feel like they do it well. And my philosophy is that looking for jobs on job boards and websites is a worthwhile thing to do. But if you're spending all of your time doing that and not networking, you're leaving a whole lot of leads on the table. So it really is about how do you augment, what is the right tool, what is appropriate in a networking setting. So in my opinion, the tool to use, the instrument to use would be a bio. Maybe a bio and a resume, but in particular, it really should be a bio, a one-page document. And the reason is that this one document is written in prose as opposed to bullet points. So it's full sentences, it tells a story, it has a few paragraphs, it puts the pieces together. It should be short and engaging, certainly no more than a page. And it should kind of provide enough context and enough language that it would entice somebody to come meet you or to get to know you, or at least kind of introduce yourself to them in a way that is valuable. And absolutely, it serves a purpose. It is your public relations document. It is your marketing flyer. It is a document that you can use quite handily when you're just getting to know someone, even if you're not in a job search. So in networking, one of the things that I'm sure Jeff talks about too is that you don't just network for a job search. You don't just start networking when you need a job, then stop networking when you've got the job. And then 2 years later or 3 years later, you start networking again and then stop it. That's not how networking goes. Networking is something that you learn how to do, and you do it every part of your career, employed, unemployed, in transition, having a great job. You still should be networking and devoting a certain amount of time to your entire, a certain amount of time in your work life to networking, no matter what your job situation is. So the bio is the tool you use for that. So think about, excuse me. I'm sorry, I woke up with a froggy throat this morning, so apologize. So when do you use it versus a resume? And I said a minute ago, you can use it literally in every communication activity, networking. It might be part of a sales brochure. It might be part of a response to an RFP. I mean, there are so many ways that you can use a bio, but in particular, you want to use it when you want to communicate. Think about the themes, or think about the messages, the arc of your career story. That little short story should be what goes into your bio. So it's an emphasis on the important messages that you want to surface to the top. And then especially if you have an interesting, let's say, interesting career where maybe it's not obvious, or it's not a straight line from one position to the next, all in the same industry, all in the same kind of role. But if you have a little more creative career, a more interesting, varied career, you may need to have a short and direct and effective way to connect the dots for somebody, so that you are steering the message. You're presenting why your career may have zigzagged a little bit. And also, again, over your entire career, when you get your job, when you are getting promoted, when you're just doing a great job, your bio is the best tool. If you decide to start checking out the marketplace, or you just want to see what else is out there, maybe you're not getting promoted as quickly as you'd like, maybe something's going on at the company and you're getting sniffs of reorganization, or something else is going on. When you want to be out in a kind of a private job search, and I would call that an unannounced job search, but it's something where you don't want random people saying, oh yeah, I got Mina's resume today. Well, a resume just screams job search. It just does. I mean, rarely do I get asked for a resume when I'm doing consulting work or some other things. They want to see the bio. And so a bio can be used, and I could go on and add 5 more bullets. And those are the primary things, is that your bio should be your foundation go-to tool, no matter what, no matter where you are in your career. And you just keep updating the themes and updating the messages that are in it. So let's look at this difference between the two. Because obviously, and I agree with, and I think Jeff and the other presenter, invest in a good resume. For goodness sakes, don't throw one together or have one just not look. I mean, they should look good. They should be readable. They should be well presented. But a resume is really a tool when you're mainly looking for a job. And it's pretty obvious if you give somebody your resume, and depending on the context and the circumstances, it could kind of broadly say, oh, Mina's looking for a job. The bio can be used in any application. It's great and we're going to talk in a minute toward the end of the presentation about all the different ways that a foundation bio can be repurposed into lots of additional tools to add to your toolkit. Your resume gives you very specific details about your work history. It's usually, and I don't like any that are not, chronologically developed. And so it gives you a work history, the companies you've worked for. And if you do it well, you've got very clear, and I agree, quantitative accomplishments, and then it shows your credentials, and it just like it is your specifics about your job. Now, the bio takes the data. Of course, the data is all the same. It's all you, but it gives it a spin. It, you know, like in all of these things that we see, there's the spin room and there's these other opportunities to tell your side of a story. So your bio takes the data. It's going to be consistent with a resume, but it highlights the elements that you want to show off. your characteristics, your accomplishments that are tailored, that are specific to the opportunity that you want, your primary, your number one goal, and the opportunity that you're going for. And I do think, and I'm a little bit flexible about, you know, tweaking a resume depending on the job, but I do have a real caution there, is that you don't want 50 versions of your resume out in the public domain, you know, because they're going to start bumping into each other at various times. So I think 2 or 3 iterations, or you know, version 1, 2, and 3, different kind of domains or different objectives makes sense. I think the same thing with the bio, and I even think the bio can be a little more fluid because it isn't quite as structured. You can tell your story with a little spin here and a little spin there, and that's not going to be quite as obvious as having, you know, 50 different resumes in the marketplace. Resumes are not, somebody said in the presentation that resumes are not read word for word. The very first few seconds that you have, you only have one chance to, you get one chance to make a first impression. Absolutely. So the resume is going to be scanned first, and they may give you, and I've heard as short as 3 seconds, but certainly not much more than 7 seconds for somebody to just take a look at the data and then decide, because what they're doing is an elimination process. So if they see something they like, it'll go in pathway A, and if they see something they don't like, it goes in pathway B over to the circular file folder. And so what you want to do in that first impression is make sure that it's presentable, it has enough of the highlights, but people are not going to read it word for word first thing out of the gate. I'll tell you, a bio has a much greater chance of being read because it's not created. The resume is created to be scannable with keywords, with company names, with dates, with accomplishments. It's designed to be scannable. But the resume, the bio is a short 2 or 3 paragraphs. And so more than likely, they're going to see the headlines up at the top in the right or the left corner. And then they're going to see 3 or 4 paragraphs that are easy to read, because they're also not going to be squished together, single space, 10-point font out to the edge of the margins. It's going to be easier to read, a little bit larger font, very much more welcoming. So the bio has a higher probability. Now, I wouldn't sit here and say in a million years, your bio is always going to be read. But if there's one document that there is a likelihood they'll read a bio and absorb it pretty quickly because you've laid it out in story form. The resume is usually, and I have here 2 pages. In today's electronic world, there are so few resumes that are transmitted as a piece of paper, you know, in an envelope folded over on beautiful bond paper. And, you know, there's just so few that we do that way. These days, it's going to be a nice electronic document that you post or you upload to their website, or you send it in an email, or you send them a Google link to the document. I would say it's a little more acceptable for it to be a little longer. So I have seen more 3-page documents. I do once in a while see a really concise 1-page document as a resume, but that's usually when the candidate has a very specific domain. An example that I saw a few years ago was an IP, a high-level IP attorney, intellectual property attorney, plaintiff's attorney. And so he had done that for 30 years. I mean, that's his gig. And so he had a kind of a short resume, but then he had an addendum to the resume that had exemplary cases. So that wasn't part of his resume, but it was attached to. So in that cases, you might have a 1-page resume if your experience is really in a column, like really in a silo of sorts. but 2 pages is normal. 3 is usually okay. And we're talking resume. Now I could go down a different path with CV. CVs are used in Europe more than in the US. They are also used in the US in educational and sometimes research related jobs. And so a CV can easily go 8 to 10 pages because it's all the citations, it's all the details of the academic and the experience background. So we're not talking CV, but in a resume, you might have a couple of pages. For a bio, it's 1 page. It's a nice size font. It has it has space in between the lines, and it's maybe 300 to 400 words. On the resume side, it is a job search tool. Clearly, that is primarily the purpose for the resume. And for the bio, as I said just a minute ago, is really a multi-purpose document that once you write, and we go over quickly what it would look like, I would say you get your bio written and then you just tweak it about every year. Just go back and freshen it up and add some new words or add a new company or accomplishment. And you could go with the same bio with update your picture after a few years. Don't be using a 20-year-old picture on it. But it's easy to use over the long haul by just doing a few modifications along the way. And then the resume helps you. So I'm saying everybody has a resume. More and more people are having bios. It might be more common at an executive level or a very senior professional level, but I will tell you, I think at nearly every level, if you have a bio, it is more impressive. It's a more impressive document that you have that prepared and then it tells your story. And if somebody says, send me your resume, I would send them the bio and the resume. I wouldn't just send the resume. I didn't include the bio with that request. And then finally, the resume helps you organize your experience and your accomplishments in a relevant date chronological order. The bio is really about, it's not about the dates. It's about how to sell yourself. It's about how you present yourself to someone who is reading that bio. And it's giving just like the 5,000-foot view of Jeff Morris or 5,000-foot view of this candidate. So that's kind of those two, and they go hand in hand, but they are very different documents. The layout is, I mean, this is obviously a very, very rough little simplistic graphic, but basically on the resume, you have your contact information up at the top. You have a headline, which I could go on and on about what should and should not be in that top quarter of your resume. Your resume, that top quarter, is where people will pay attention to what's in bold, what's underlined, what the bullets are, and that may be all they pay most attention to. So your headline should really communicate what you're aiming for, the job you're aiming for. It doesn't always have to be precisely your title today. It's really the job you're looking for. And then a positioning paragraph, which is, we've talked about that in the yellow book that Jeff is talking about. How do you present yourself? What's your keywords? And then a series of keywords, some bullets and and then you've got your chronological experiences. On your bio, the first thing you'll notice is different on the bio is that there's usually a picture. And this is why you should have a professional headshot. This is true on LinkedIn. This is true on, there is tons of research. And I don't remember the latest one, Jeff, you may, but the research is that if you go to a LinkedIn profile, it is 3 or 4 times more likely to be paid attention to if there's a picture. And if it doesn't have a picture, people might skip by it or not pay quite as much attention to it. It's much more, I'll call it stickier if you have a picture. And I know there's a variety pushback on that. We won't go into it, the have and have not a picture. And you're going to have a chance to talk with Paula in a couple of weeks, and she will give you some good guidelines around a headshot and to picture or not to picture and some of those things. But it is a way to put yourself intimately in front of somebody who you want them to get to know you. So why shouldn't they get to know what you look like? And so I'm a big advocate, no matter what your diversity, any of the other factors. I think it's really important to have that picture. And then your name, your headline, your keywords, which are really similar to some of the headline and some of the keywords on the resume. But then it consists of 4 paragraphs. It has a positioning paragraph. It has a positioning paragraph. We're going to talk a little bit more about what goes into that. Then the second paragraph is like most recently, or Mina is currently Mina is the head of whatever. So the most recent job or the current job goes into the second paragraph with some context and usually the wow accomplishment. The rest of the career, believe it or not, goes in one paragraph. Prior to this job, Mina did this and this, and she started her career with that company. So you can do it. It's 3 or 4 sentences. You cherry pick the things that are the sexiest, the most intriguing, because this is your bait, catnip. And then the last paragraph are your credentials. What your academic credentials, what your professional credentials are, if you're certified in project management, or if you've taken specific training in certain technologies that are relevant to this job, or any other content and credential information goes in that last paragraph. And it usually starts with your highest level of your academic degree, if you have one. And then your contact information goes right down there in the footer. On the resume, it's right up at the top of the page, but it would more comfortably go in the footer on a bio. So here's why some bios are really bad. And trust me, I have read some really bad ones. And I do all the time. I'm looking on websites. I'm looking at different companies because they may be a potential client, or I'm looking at colleagues or friends because they've invited me to join their LinkedIn connections, and there may be an about section, and I read that. Boy, some of them, I just want to pull my hair out, and it's like, did nobody tell you anything? So sometimes they are just blah, 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 blah. They're boring. They're just data, or dates, or just something that is not inspiring, not compelling. A bio should tell a story that let's just say gets your mouth watering. It's so interesting. I want to know more about this person. It should be the teaser to get somebody to want to know more about you. So boring bios are spice them up in some way. Show your personality. That's the other thing. A bio can really be, I like to use the word friendly. A bio cannot have to be so stilted that it's just all, and especially when you look at your LinkedIn profile, which is a substitute for a bio, I think today's world is write it in first person, not third person. Normal bios on a website, on a marketing proposal might be written in third person. That would be a more traditional way to do it. But these days on LinkedIn, I'd say write it in first person. It's more friendly. It's more engaging. You don't want a bio that just goes on and on and on. Remember, one of the reasons that people will read a bio is that it's short and sweet. It tells a story. It's not more than a few hundred words. It gets to the point, connects the dots, and bam, you've got an interesting but short and easy to read document. There are other bios that are just too short and don't give you enough information. And maybe they're just a collection of some comments or statements or whatever, But the one thing in writing a bio is to be crystal clear who your audience is. Absolutely crystal clear. Who do you want to read this document? And so you're writing it for that person to read. Imagine the perfect hiring manager, the perfect job, the perfect company. And that should be part of your career planning anyway, is to know exactly who we want to go after. And so that's the audience you're writing this for. And again, you can go back and tweak it a little bit here and there, but it really should be a very clear, I think, clear objective, but a clear mission. I have a mission for what I want the person to take away from this document. And so you want to be clearly focused on that. So a basic bio, and in the book that Jeff was sharing with you, the first section of that book is about how to introduce yourself. The name of the book is Tell Me About Yourself. And it is, and I saw this on I think it was a Forbes article last week. They were, you'll see these all the time, how to answer the top 10 questions in an interview. And every time I see something like that, I always go look at it because that's something I have passion about. So of course, last week, here's this article about the top 5 or 10 questions and how to answer these 5 questions. The number one question, guess what? And it has been for years. Tell me about yourself, or tell me something about yourself. And that's going to be very often the first question that you hear in an interview. And if it's not, you still want to be prepared for it to be, because I would even say sometimes if they ask you a humdinger of a first question, if it's something off the wall or came out of, Mars, I'd probably even start with saying, wow, that's a really cool question. Let me tell you about myself first, and then I'll answer that. I would even start with my introduction, even though that may not be what they asked, because I want to be sure they hear my story. So that first section of the book is on your introduction. Well, the reason that's important in a bio is that's almost exactly the first paragraph in your bio. So having a good introduction, hi, my name is Mina Brown, da, 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 I'm this, I've done that, and this is why I'm a cool person. That should be kind of integrated into that first paragraph, which is what we call the positioning paragraph. So it's got 4 paragraphs. You've got your headshot, you've got a headline, which has either a title or a tagline and a couple of key words up at the top, which should be consistent with or parallel with your resume. And it's 1 page. And it's written easy to read. Don't get funky with some kind of weird font and do some crazy design thing at the top. Here's the problem. Even a PDF file, if it's not a certain kind of font, even a PDF won't print it correctly, because it depends on what the printer settings are. And you send it to somebody and then they want to print it so they can give it to their HR manager, and it turns out looking like ick. So just keep it simple, interesting, but don't try to get wild and crazy about fonts and design, because that can really not do a good service for you down the road. So the positioning paragraph's the first. The second paragraph, we did this just a minute ago, is the current most recent job. The third is the rest of the career and the credentials and contact information. So that's the basic structure. So the positioning paragraph, and just what we were saying, that is your prose version. It's your full sentence, full paragraph version of your personal introduction. And this is not the session this morning to go through how you create your personal introduction. That's something that is 3 formulas. It's 4 sentences, because we give you 2 sentences for the star factor. But basically, your personal introduction is who you are, what you know that is unique to your job or your audience. It's not just what everybody else knows. If you're going for a finance job and you say, I know accounting, that's not going to differentiate you. But if you go for a finance job and you share that you have deep, and it's relevant to the job, that you have deep interest or a deep experience in commodities exchange and such, and you're looking for a job where commodities is a useful, is a part of their business, then that does set you apart. Not every finance person has active experience in the commodities exchange. So that would be the kind of knowledge that would set you apart. And then thirdly is your star factor, which is where I think we sometimes have an opportunity to put it on the resume in that top paragraph. And I call it the squishier stuff. It's the softer edges of, I think I like to think about the star factor as not just what sets you apart, but what are you like to work with? Are you a go-getter? Are you a person who draws outside of the line? Are you, I mean, all of the kind of ways. I'm the kind of person that if I say I'll get it done, you can take it to the bank, or, you know, something that sets you apart in a qualitative sense that is, again, relevant to the job. So all of that goes in that first paragraph. That's your personal introduction. The first sentence might sound like, because here's an example of an essence factor, and it might sound like Andrew Anton is a business savvy human resources manager with extensive background in compensation, benefits, and training. So it kind of cherry picks 2 or 3 areas. He's a human resource manager. It kind of lets you know where his level is. It doesn't indicate an industry. Now, if the industry were particularly important, he might say, instead of even business savvy, an oil and gas human resources manager, or aerospace, you know. So if it's relevant, you can add that in that essence factor. And then the rest of the paragraph would capture the reader's imagination. Anton is particularly skilled in the area of designing benefits packages that are highly flexible for people of all ages and in all states. I mean, so it just something that adds interest. And that would be part of the positioning paragraph. And I mean, there's a whole training. Jeff and I know that there's a whole training on just the personal introduction. So one of the programs that we did a few years ago was we literally had you take index cards and you wrote your personal introduction, and then we put it all together. So he may still do that in a separate one, but that is, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Personal introduction, baby. So the second paragraph then is either your current role, or if you're in transition, most recently, Anton did such and such, or you can say Andrew. It depends on how the formality. I like to go with first names as opposed to last names, but in some industries, and I think industries that are a little bit more, you know, stuck up, let's say, you know, it could be law or medical or Wall Street, or some of these other kinds of industries where it's just naturally a little more formal. Then you might use last name, but I kind of like first name in the bio, but when you're using third person. So Andrew, most recently, Andrew was in he was the head of the blah, blah, blah human resource development, or OD or something, at company, blah, 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 where he did blah, blah, blah. One of the things that he was awarded HR Business Partner of the Year for doing such and such. And that's that second paragraph. It's about what his role is, what his title is, or most recently what it was, and it includes something that's really a cool accomplishment. And it might be a combination of things, but definitely pick one, because you've already done your resume, you've got the inventory. So pick one out of the inventory of your current job or most recent job and make it sexy on the bio. And that's the second paragraph. The third paragraph is everything else, everything else. And so believe it or not, it's just not that hard to do. So in the third paragraph, you might say, prior to joining this firm, Anton was, or Andrew was, led the reorganization of a major blah, blah, blah at ABC company. Prior to that, he held a variety of roles ranging from A to Q in companies in this and that domain. It doesn't have to be, they've got your resume. If they want your resume, they're going to ask for your resume. It's going to fill in all the blanks. So we don't need to go back 30 years on a bio. All they want to know is, who are you right now? Who are you right now? That's why that positioning paragraph is so important. But you got to give them a little more bait, you know. And then I started my career. I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, because most of you weren't born when I started my career, but I started with Price Waterhouse. Price Waterhouse is a well-known, well-respected firm. So I literally, in that third paragraph, right at the bottom, I say something like, I started my career with Price Waterhouse. I don't go into job titles. I don't go years. I don't go anything. I just said, you know, I started my career with Price Waterhouse, because they can figure out that's after I graduated from college, and somewhere between then and now, there's the other thing. So that's the end of my third paragraph. So you sum it up, you highlight a couple of key accomplishments. Again, always focused to your audience, to your objective, to what you want them to hire you for or acknowledge you for. And then you get to show off, like I said, prior employers, but not just companies they've never heard of. It'll take too long to explain who they are. So just be very, very concise. If you did something fantastic for a company that nobody's ever heard of, then be brief to describe the company. And if you put just ABC company, that could be podunk down the road, but just say a cutting edge technology firm. Anton created such and such for a cutting edge technology firm, blah, blah, blah. So just be sure that you're saying it in a way that you don't waste words. That's the first thing, is you write it and then you edit the hell out of it, so it really hangs together and really makes sense. And then the last paragraph is your credentials. It's your most recent degree. Usually the credential section is going to start, because Alpha and Omega, the very first thing should probably be your college degrees or any kind of higher ed degrees. And if you have multiple degrees, you put them all, as much as is reasonable, in just one sentence, but you start with the most advanced one, even if it's not the latest one. If you got your master's degree in something and then you went back and got a bachelor's degree in something else, even if you got it after your master's degree, put your highest level degree first, unless there's a particular reason that you wouldn't. Like if you went back to get a degree in basket weaving and the company you want to get hired for is a basket weaver, then maybe you would put that first, but just kind of use your good common sense. But they generally want to see your highest level degree first. And then you can use any common shorthands. Remember, you want to be very concise on this document. You don't want a bunch of words taking a bunch of ink on a white paper or on space for words that are unnecessary. So everybody knows what a BA, an MBA, everybody knows what those are. A BS, a BBA, everybody knows what those are. But then you might have a degree that's a little more obscure or might be confused with something else. So an example I give you here in this bullet is, what is an MM? Well, there's a whole bunch of them. My sister has a master's of music. I have lots of friends who have masters of ministry. It might say master of divinity, but sometimes it'll be ministry, MM, masters of management, master of mathematics. It might be master of science in mathematics, but if it is something that is a bit obscure, then write it out. But if it's obvious, don't write it out. You need to save those digits, those characters, that space on the paper. And then after your degree, put any other useful, valuable, relevant credentials, awards, anything you've published. If you've published an article in one of your industry journals, if you have multiple languages, we're lucky in Texas that we have lots of people with 2 or 3 languages or fluencies. If you are active in the community and you've been leading a committee of some sort, or you sat on the board of a local nonprofit or a community organization, then this would be a place where you could highlight that leadership role. Now I've got, here's a quick little, you can't read this. This is not intended to be an example of one of the worst slides ever created on the planet, because those slides are, you can't read them. They're way too small. What the heck is on this page? This is just a visual example of a bio that I think Paula wrote this for one of our books. And you'll see a picture on the left, and then his name, his CPA, his title, and then some keywords underneath that. So you can see they're spaced out a little bit because you want people to read them. You want it to be scannable, but you want to call people's attention to it. So anything in bold, anything that's bigger font, anything that's underlined, those are ways to bring somebody's attention to that word or phrase or what you're communicating. And then first paragraph is his positioning paragraph. Second paragraph is his current job with a couple of accomplishments. Third is previously he was a division controller, blah, 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 blah. And I think the last sentence said, while at this company, he spent 2 years in Mexico. So he's giving a little flavor, a little personality to it. And then he's a CPA, he has a BBA from this university, blah, blah, blah. And he's fluent in English and Spanish. So that's just a little, I just wanted to give you a bird's eye view of what a basic bio. So I want to underscore basic, because this basic document, it's your cornerstone. You just have to really know what's in the basic, because now we're going to take you to some other applications. Jeff, how are we doing on time?
You're doing great. Kathy does have a question here. It says,
Okay, great.
in the degree section, since I see a lot of job descriptions written up to specify a BS of computer science, information technology, et cetera, should the college degree section spell out that information, or is this section just an appetizer to lead them to check out your resume?
Yes and yes. So just read the degree that you said a minute ago.
BS, for an example, computer science, information technology, et cetera, et cetera. So,
yeah. And thank you for asking that, because you always want to be sure you're answering some of the questions that the reader would be likely to be curious about. So you will always want to be sure you've got your audience in mind, your objective in mind, you're squarely positioned for them to just, I mean, it's just going to check off. Oh, yeah, she's got it. So yeah, in that degree section, if I had a couple of competing master's degrees, let's say I have a master's of science in technology, and I also have an MBA, So I have 2 master's degree. Who knows? That'd be kind of cool, right? But if I did that, I would definitely start with the technology one because that's the one they're interested in. And yes, I would put it in that the college degree. Now let's assume they want you to have a degree in that, but you have a degree in something similar, then you can add some clarifying or add some additional language that said you took specialized classes in technology or something. So blend it together and get it as tight as possible to what the job is that you want and the audience that you want to read it. Does that help? Good. I'll assume so, and we will keep going.
Another question that popped up
Okay.
was, if a company wants a cover letter and a resume, do you send the bio as well?
Yes, 100%. And Paula and I have different points of view about cover letters. I'm a big fan of don't write the predictable cover letter. Write a cover letter that communicates to your audience. And so if it's boring, it's just like, you know, a boring cover letter. No, Paula thinks nobody reads cover letters. I think there are 25% or 30% of the people out there who ask for it do read a cover letter. And even if they don't read it, if they ask for it, you still got to send it. But don't let it be boring and don't let it be predictable. Make it short, make it punchy, but then in that refer to give you a little more information, I'm enclosing both my professional bio and my resume. I would absolutely send it.
If you've got your bio, send it. It can't hurt. I mean, if they don't want to, they won't read it, but you know, you're giving them information about who you are.
Yeah, they don't, and I think a lot of times they don't ask for a bio because a lot of people don't have them. And it's like, if I need the resume, I want a cover letter. I think the bio replaces some of the stuff that we used to put in the cover letter. I think the cover letter ought to be very specific to the job, the company, the person who you're communicating with. The bio gives them your short story, and then the resume gives them all of your details. And so I would definitely make the cover letter short and sweet, include the bio, include the resume.
Thank you.
Yeah. So a couple of cautions on the credentialing side, or the piece right at the bottom where you might put community services or community service, or things where it's not purely just your degree or your publications. I would say first and foremost, now again, this is Mina-ism. Now, Paula and I both agree on this, but I've seen the whole gambit on websites, and I've seen everything from A to Z that gets included in a bio. And this is, and so I will just say, this is my opinion. If you're in a job search, if you're doing a bio for that purpose, and there may be reasons to have a little more personal flair, I'll call it, if it's on your own website, or if it's on a business where you're selling you as a person. There are some exceptions, I understand, but in general, I would say, particularly in job search, I don't think it's a good place to put some of these oddball things. So first and foremost, unless you are applying or interested in applying for a job, working on, let's say, a political campaign, or working for a research company that's doing oppo for a campaign, or you're working for a religious or faith-based organization. Maybe you're a minister, or maybe you're a student counselor or something. If you're aiming for something like that, then obviously this is the place to put your pedigree about those things. But if it's not a job that's specifically in that lane, I would recommend, and I strongly believe, it should not be on your bio. It should not be on your resume even. People have both conscious and unconscious biases. And if you're aiming for a political or a charitable organization that's faith-based or some other organization, then obviously you're aligned with their point of view. But if you're adding that information when it's not relevant to the job, I think you could run the risk of tripping up somebody's unconscious bias. And I don't think that it will benefit you, and you don't want to run the risk of not even, and I'm not even saying people are conscious of it sometimes, but it's just something that I would encourage you to stay clear of, unless it's relevant. Similarly, interests, hobbies, I play golf. I love reading. My favorite things to do is play music and go dancing. I mean, a job interview and a job search tool, I just don't think there's a place there. And I love the piece that you did, the tip before I started. And what it said is go into your Google yourself, go to your Facebook, go to your LinkedIn and clean it up. Get some of that crap out of there, because you are a public domain unless you literally don't exist on LinkedIn or Facebook. My son is not on Facebook. My daughter very rarely. So that I think some younger people are moving away from some platforms, but boy, oh boy, you don't want to leave that stuff out there. So I really think it's not appropriate to put on a bio or a resume, unless if you're a scratch golfer and you used to play on the pro tour, then that's kind of interesting. That shows an accomplishment and a dedication that not very many people have. So that might be something to add, but only if it demonstrates a quality about you that is extraordinary. You know, I was an Olympic swimmer. I was, you know, those kinds of things are the kinds of hobbies or interests that I think, or I wrote a play that was produced off Broadway. I mean, that just says a lot about the character and the commitment of the person. But if it's not something like that, leave it off. And then finally, I think leave the personal tidbits out. Just leave them out. I've been married. I have 2 kids and 3 dogs. I don't need to know that. I don't want to know that. And it also, it seems to me in today's world of diversity, why is that a bragging point? I mean, there are a lot of us who are single, and a lot of us who may have other interests that, you know, I just think it needs to stay off of there. They don't need to know how many kids you have. They don't need to know what the kids' names are and where they're going to college, although lots of us parents are very proud of our kids and they got into a really great school. Leave it off the bio. This is not about the kids. This is about you. So I just think you have to use some really good judgment. And if in doubt, leave it off. Okay, so I mentioned bios, and more bios. So what we just showed you that little bird's eye view of is the foundation bio. That's the fundamental 4 paragraphs, picture here, title over here, contact information in the footer. That's got to be your starting place. You've got to write it. And even if you don't do anything else with it, writing it will help you articulate what you want the listener and the reader and the other person to know about you, because you have to be able to sum up. I think one of the greatest sins in interviewing, is talking too much. Just talking too much, just going down on and on and on and on. Answers should be short, concise, and you should be well prepared to give a highlight and then say, this is what you were asking. Now, what else can I add to that for you? So learn how to be concise. And if you can't do that, you're not going to, I don't think you're going to do well in an interview. But in a bio, by writing your foundation bio, you've made yourself tell the story. So now we've got our foundation bio written. So what do we do with it? So I'm going to show you an example in a minute of my profile. There are on websites for, let's say, board books where people are going to go through and pick out somebody to interview for a board member, or you might have it in a lot of companies in sales documents will put a profile of some of the executives in a sales document. Certainly it might be on the website as a profile instead of a bio. But that's just something, I'll show you mine in a minute. It's just a derivative of that foundation bio. And I mentioned this a minute ago. You've got that about section in your LinkedIn. Now, I was looking at it last night to see if I could show an updated picture, and I was able to do it. But I'm kind of not happy that it's too far down the page. And I looked at ways to maybe move it up the page. There's some intervening sections where it's like, I'm open to this and blah, blah, blah. And so there's 2 or 3 little boxes. Activities is one. There's a couple of other boxes that are on that's on your LinkedIn page that come before the about section. Well, your bio goes right there in the about section. And then if you have a nice looking, handsome document version of it, then upload it in your activities, or there's other ways you can upload documents on your LinkedIn profile to make it sexier. So go ahead and upload a handsome looking document. You could make it an executive profile, for example, that's similar, and then upload that so that you've got some more things to show on your LinkedIn profile. But certainly that about section is pure text. You open it up, you edit it, you copy and paste your foundation bio, and then you tweak it. Because here's where I think you use first person instead of third person. So a standard bio, like the one I showed you, John Menendez. So John did this, John did that, blah, blah, blah. In the LinkedIn section, I think it should be converted to friendly first person and use it, and you can tweak it and make it a little lighter, add some colloquialism. I can't say it this morning, Jeff. So just put something in that LinkedIn profile. Again, that's what they might read before they go plowing down. It's above all of the experience and all the other stuff, but that's where you can use this foundation bio. And then obviously, if you have a website, and these days, I would tell you a lot of my colleagues who are entrepreneurs use their LinkedIn profile as a substitute website because it's got as much or more, and you can do more with it these days than you used to be able to. It's got lots of features. You can do posts, you can do, you can upload videos, you can upload PowerPoints. I mean, there's just a lot you can do with a LinkedIn profile. So make your LinkedIn profile rich, but a lot of people separately have a website bio, or have a website for a small business, or maybe they're on a website with another company, or maybe they're an affiliate. Like I'm on Paula's website as one of her affiliates. And so I need a bio that she can use on her website. And that's why you can take this bio and convert it into something that's going to fit the format that you want. Now, on a website, this would be an example of a place where if somebody wants to hire me and they want to know a little bit about me as a person, because they're going to hire me as a coach, then I might add another little tidbit, some little personal tidbit things at the bottom of my resume about Mina lives in Dallas, Texas with her 3 teeny weeny dogs or something. I might put something, flavorful in that part of the website. But I think that would be one of the few places where I would add something like that. And then some other places I mentioned a minute ago, when you're in a business where you're doing a business proposal and you want to be hired by a company, you might need to put a profile or a bio as part of your proposal. And the proposal might also be a PowerPoint. A lot of times the proposal might be, like a cover letter. And then the proposal itself might be several pages of a PowerPoint presentation. So there are bullet points that you can pull out of your basic bio, your foundation bio, and take those 4 paragraphs and create about 4 or 5 bullet points to put on a PowerPoint presentation. I skipped board bio, and Paula may talk about that. That's a pretty specialized little group. And so it certainly can be used there. And the difference for board bio is that all the top 3 paragraphs get smaller and the credentials section doubles. So it's about credentials on a board bio. If you do any kind of, if you sit on a panel, or if you do a presentation or a workshop, or you're doing any kind of training at all, you want to have a little short, it's not more than about 100 words, 99 or less words in a podium introduction, a speaker introduction. I call it a speaker bio. And it should be something that the podium, the person who's introducing you, it's written in their words. Like our next guest is Mina Brown and blah, 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 blah. So you want to have a little short one so that they don't have to panic about coming up with their own introduction when you're a guest. The seminar brochure, if you're doing a presentation or you're on a panel, they will usually give you, they want something short to put in their flyer or on these days, there's not very many published, printed programs anymore, but it probably is going to be on a speaker. We use a tool called Hoova, which is a conference manager, or it might be on a website and it might be on some PowerPoint. So a seminar brochure, you usually have a little baby short version of your foundation bio. And remember, your primary audience are the people who are coming to that seminar. So you may have to cherry pick some things to go into that little short one. It's very similar to a speaker introduction, a podium intro, and then that could just be dropped right into a speaker brochure if you're on a panel or you're doing preaching. And then finally, if you're running a business or if you're part of a service business, that service business is selling you. You are the product. And we talk about, I think about if you're selling a product, if you're a salesperson, let's say I'm a salesperson and I'm an entrepreneur, I'm selling things for my business. So first, you've got to have the product. Well, I'm the product. So is that a sample? So when I talk to you, I'm giving you a sample of the product, right? And then the second thing is you've got to have some kind of flyer that summarizes the product. So that would be a profile or a service business bio or something. And then separate from that might be the specs, the details. And that would be where either an addendum, a resume could go with that, but that's where all the details go. And that would be like your specifications that are always the second or third tab over when I'm shopping for something online. So that's the details. So those are all the different kinds, and I'm sure there are more, but this is just a selection of the things where you can write your foundation bio and then be able to apply it in all these different ways and more as it evolves. It could be and think about social media, for goodness sakes. Every one of your social media accounts has a little about section. It has who you are. So on Facebook, there's a little section that says who you are. On Instagram, on any of the other social media, LinkedIn, that about section. So all of those social media platforms have a place for you to describe who you are. And you can use your foundation bio to fuel that. So we're coming down to the home stretch. So here's just a couple of examples I wanted to show you. So the one on the right is the one that I use as my professional profile. Now, it is my professional bio. So again, this is one of those bad slides because you can't read everything in here. But just imagine that I wrote my foundation bio first, wrote it first, used it for years. And then what I did is I have my picture. So I kind of adapted it a little bit. So I've got my picture on the top left. I've got my name, my header, my little sub tagline underneath that. Then I've got 5 bullets that I want to call people's attention to. So I've just added those in. Those on my resume might be like the bullets underneath the first paragraph or a version of those. And then on the right-hand side is my bio. That's my bio, the whole thing. I've broken it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs, just so that it would be more scannable and readable on this document. But that's basically my foundation bio. And then on the left, I added 4 of my clients' quotes. So when you think about I'm self-employed, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm selling me, I'm selling the things that are in the bullets up above. But even more importantly, since I'm selling me, I want to give my customers a flavor of what my clients would say about me. So they can read 4 little testimonials about working with me that gives me that kind of extra sales, jazzy stuff. Now on the left, I had to pull it out, Jeff, and piece it together because the about is down below. And so I did a cut and sliced them together so it doesn't look exactly like this. If you go to LinkedIn, Mina Brown, my LinkedIn is just Mina Brown. You'll see the top part down to that light gray or bluish gray section. And then there's activity, and then there's blah, 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 and then about another third of the way down the page is about. So I sliced them together here so that you could see, though, that about section is almost exactly my foundation bio. And if you could read it, which you cannot, it also starts, it's in first person. So it starts with my clients are primarily blah, blah, blah. And then on my profile, the first sentence is written more third person. Few professional coaches have the depth of executive leadership and experience, and I can't even read it, masterful coaching reputation and positive impact as Mina Brown. So it's third person, and it's an opening statement. And by the way, that first sentence on that section, that's my speaker intro. I've repurposed it here because it's a great speaker intro, and I hand that. So that's an example of 2 different applications of a good foundation bio. And again, it's worth doing the foundation bio, even if you don't use it anywhere else. But I guarantee you, most of you have a LinkedIn profile, have a networking opportunity or several of them, and should be using your bio in your networking. Absolutely. All right, so Jeff's already mentioned our book. The first one, Be Sharp, is the one that starts out with your personal introduction, and then it goes into an entire section on bios. And then the third section is, and I've got this on the next slide. And then the second book that Paula you're going to see in a couple of weeks. Paula is my co-author on both of these. The first one is Be Sharp, and we updated it not too long ago, so it's the second edition. And then the second one is a few years older, but it is a series of essays written in 5 sections that are really for people in career management. So the first section's intro, the second section's bio, and then I go to specific kinds of bios in that third section beyond the basic bio. So we have specific guidance for public speaking and profiles and web presence in the yellow book with the stripes. And then the Be Smart is really about career advice. 54 short essays. It's in 5 sections about job strategy, resumes and collateral material, networking, interviewing, and talking about money, which is always a tricky tricky and uncomfortable place for us to be when we have to talk about money. And so I have enjoyed this. I hope Jeff did. I don't know if I ran over, but this has been fun, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Doing great, doing great. Any questions anybody has? Yeah, hold on here. Come grab the mic.
Yeah, you mentioned that the about section of your LinkedIn profile should pretty much what will get put on your bio,
Yes.
which means I guess the positioning paragraph is probably the best place to bring out my brand.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. That was one.
Yeah. Your positioning paragraph is very much your branding statement.
So seemed like, and then showing off impressive employers. Now, obviously, our resume only goes as far as about 10 years ago. Even that's too much. But my first real job after graduating was with a Fortune 100 company, and I'm proud of that. So, I mean, that would be something that doesn't appear on my resume, but if I put it there, say like, what? We aren't seeing this on your LinkedIn or your resume.
All right. So now tell me your name.
Lily Kadur.
Lily.
Mhm.
So Lily, I mean, this is again, I don't think there's, what I'm telling you is not law, and there's no one answer to these things. I do believe, and I use myself as an example, even though I worked, my first job out of college was 40 years ago. I was very proud of being hired by Pricewaterhouse. That mattered to me. That was a cut above all of my competitors in my program. So 40 years later, if I were to do my resume, if I needed a resume today, I would still lump all of those, like you said, 10 years. Yes, you don't want to go, 14 pages out and do 40 years worth of jobs. But you can lump a bunch of stuff in one paragraph right at the bottom and say Mina held or Ms. Brown held positions in accounting, finance, and auditing with Amex and Pricewaterhouse. So I don't have to put years, I don't have to put job titles, I don't have to, but if it's a sexy company, I want to get credit for getting hired there. So yeah, I'd put that on my resume. If it's you worked for the UN in diplomatic relations or something, yeah, I'd put that on my resume. So therefore, and also I would make it the very last little short sentence at the bottom of the third paragraph, and prior to this or in earlier positions, Mina worked for blah, blah, blah. I would put some qualitative statement and just do a big old fat name drop there. So if you've got some sexy companies that you've worked for and it's well beyond 10 years from now or back, it doesn't matter. Throw it in. It's a little bit of bait. It's a little bit of catnip, and you don't have to spend more than 3 or 4 words to do it. So that would be my advice. I would encourage you.
This is something I started a career at Burlington Northern Santa Fe.
Absolutely. And I say Mina started her career with Pricewaterhouse. I mean, I don't need to say more than Mina started her career with Pricewaterhouse. 6 words.
Yeah.
And, on your resume, you want to have a section called prior relevant experience. And that's where you list the name of the company. And that's
Title.
it.
That's all.
That's all you have to do, because that's just
Okay,
enough
no.
to go. That's how you whet their appetite.
Yes.
Allows you to then tell a story.
Yeah.
If you're in an interview, well, this is what I did back then.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Mina.
Agree totally. And to Jeff's point, it doesn't have to be every single job you ever had prior to that date, but it's the ones you want to call attention to. It's the ones you want to get brownie points for. So those are the ones that matter. So yeah, don't leave them off. Find a way to get them in there.
I see a hand up.
Yes.
I'm not going to try to pronounce that name because I will slaughter.
Or Oritsing?
Yes. Hi, Hi, everyone. Hi, Jeff. I know my name is a little bit difficult. It's from South Africa.
Is that your first name or last name?
It is my first name.
And pronounce it for me.
Yeah, so it's Oretseng.
Oretseng. Okay.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you. What's
Thank
your
you.
question?
So my question is just with regards to the photo. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel a little uncomfortable just putting it on my bio. So I just wanted to ask you if it's mandatory and just, your thoughts there, because I see you have yours on your bio.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you.
And let me go backwards and see if I can find. So here's, see, this is my profile. I'll use that as a substitute. You're from South Africa, because you just mentioned that. Beautiful
yes.
name. Beautiful name, by the way.
Thank you.
Now, can you turn your video on, or are you comfortable turn your video on?
No, I just came from the
that's okay.
gym.
I don't want to put you on the spot. So
Next
I mean,
time.
and I don't want you to feel like I'm prying or anything, but are you Black?
Yes.
And are you worried about maybe a bias or
Yes.
being a negative
Yes.
on your bio?
I am. And, even with regards to my name, I really prefer my name Oretseng, but I've been like in the process of just tweaking it to Ore, because it really has a powerful meaning. I didn't know that my name was tough up until I came to the US. And so that's the process that I'm going through now as well. So yeah, the photo also,
I so love these questions, and it is more commonplace, and I'm sure we're going to see this more and more and more in our job search and in how we handle the diverse community, and whether we have he, she pronouns or their pronouns. I am on a mission to create a new pronoun for the US language. We need a new pronoun. And so anyway, here's a couple of things I would encourage you. First of all, I would say to everyone, if you're a different nationality, if you are any kind of, not white male, I still think that a professional image is essential. And so think about it this way. Unless you never want to be interviewed by a company on video or in person, and you hope they never, ever see you, then that might be okay. But to be honest, that's not going to happen very often. And so you're going to have an interview on a video. I think these days, almost every job search that I talk to, and headhunter and recruiter, they do a series of video. You get a 30-minute quickie interview, then you do another longer one. And if you make it through the gauntlet, you get another one. And then you may get a team one or a panel one, or then you go back in for another one, whether it's video or in person. They are going to see you. And what I recommend is that you put your best self forward. So that's why getting a really nicely done headshot and invest, men and women both, invest with a stylist, or make sure you've got somebody to do your hair professionally or do your makeup or help you with those things. Some people, I do my own because I've just done it for 40 years. But some people, I have a really good friend who said, "Who does your makeup?" I said, "I do it." And she said, "Well," I said, "but I have somebody I can recommend." So get a professional headshot where you look the best you can. And, honestly, you are you. And here's the other thing. If somebody doesn't want to hire me because they don't like the way I look, man, you dodged a bullet. You don't want to work for that person. You want to run for the hills. If that person takes a look at a picture and goes, "Oh, no, 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 I'm not going to have," oh, no, that's that unconscious bias. But if that person is offended by someone of a different race, someone that has different language skills, somebody that looks different, and I say this is true for impaired people who have all sorts of disabilities. You know what? I don't think it's worth hiding them. In today's world, you want to be in an environment where your employer, your manager, your company embraces diversity. And so I kind of get on my soapbox about that. So I would encourage you to get but I wouldn't do it in a sloppy way. I would get a professional, and I'd say men, same thing. Have on, and don't have a crumpled looking shirt and a crappy looking outfit. Just, at least a clean, neat shirt. I don't think you have to do ties and suits anymore. But I wouldn't show up in a deadhead sweatshirt either. Do something professional and get a professional headshot. You can get some great professional headshots for $200 or $300, and I'll tell you what, it'd be the best money you ever spent. Paula's going to talk about that, but I think you want to have your headshot and be proud of it. And then the other thing I struggle with, I am really self-conscious about pronouncing people's names right. Mine gets mispronounced most of the time, and I have very thick skin about it. But I would say there are two things to do about a name that's as interesting as yours. First of all, somewhere in the tidbit side, if you had that opportunity, put into your bio what your name means, because I suspect it's beautiful. And I think that's it. The other thing is, sometimes somewhere on your bio, spell your name phonetically, because it upsets me if I can't pronounce somebody's name. That's important to me. Your name is important to you, and I want to pronounce it correctly. So if you can help us by spelling your name phonetically, like in smaller print, in italics, or in parentheses underneath your name or on another line, spell it phonetically so we know what it is. And there's also a new tool that I added to my signature on my email, and it's called Hear My Name. And it's just this cute little thing. You download it. It looks like a little microphone or a little amplifier, and you say your name the way you want it to be pronounced, and it records it. And then you get this little icon that says, Hear My Name. And people can click on that and hear your words, you saying your name the way you want it pronounced. So I think we've got some additional tools today to help us. We want to communicate what's important to us. Speaking my name correctly is important to me. And I want other people to have the advantage of knowing how to pronounce my name. So I think there's some things you can do uniquely, and I would not hesitate to put your photo up. I would and torpedoes and put it up there and dare anybody to not want to hire you because of who you are.
And let me add too, you can also, I think you should phonetically spell your name out on LinkedIn, make it easy for people to see. And also, if you have the mobile LinkedIn app, you can record your name. You have a 10-second spot there where you can record, and people see that even on a desktop, they would be able to play it back. Now, you can't record it on a desktop or a laptop, but if you have if you're using the mobile app on your cell phone, you can record it there, and it'll be there for everybody else to hear.
And that little Hear My Name, and I'll have to, Jeff, I'll probably look for it and send it to you, is free. It's a free app. You download an icon, you record it on your computer, and then you can use that in your signature for your email. And we email everything these days. Unfortunately, nobody gets on the freaking phone, and we should do more on the phone, but everything gets an email. So have something like that on your signature for your email. So there's some wonderful ways for us to really, I want to embrace diversity, and I really want everybody's help to do that. That's why we've started using pronouns in certain ways, and we're trying to help people help us. So I love this question. I love this topic, and I do hope that we're coming out of the dark ages on this crap.
Well, Mina, thank you very, very much for your information. A lot of great information there. Just thank you very much for your time, and thank you for continuing to allow me to have you present every year.
Oh, and you're very welcome. And Jeff, you have been such a wonderful ally and advocate and a front man for the book, baby. it's been really fun to work with you and your group.
Hot and backpack. It's one of those things that I just think everybody needs to read. It just really helps you out as the basics. So
Yeah.
thank you very, very much. All right. This week we'll have an open forum. We'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. Bring your questions, comments, suggestions. This is just sort of a roundtable. So come join us. And if you live in the DFW area, please come join us in person. Let's see here. Career DFW, Career USA. If you've not put your 30-second introductions into the chat window, we don't know who you are. You won't be able to get our email. The email will have our roster on it. It'll have, all the details of, what we've talked about today. So please get your information in the chat window. That would be appreciated. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Next Tuesday, LinkedIn Tuesdays, we talk about LinkedIn every Tuesday. I'll be doing the presentation. LinkedIn, present yourself like a pro. Next Wednesday, the practice interview team will be meeting online only. You'll be able to watch an actual practice interview. We already have somebody lined up to do it. It will be on Zoom only. There'll be no Facebook Live. It will not be recorded. So if you want to watch it, you will need to watch it live. Then next Thursday, being the 5th Thursday of the month, 5th Thursday special, I'll be presenting successful job searches focus on these 4 areas. On the 1st and 3rd Thursdays, we talk about resumes. The 2nd and 4th Thursdays, we talk about networking. And whenever there's a 5th Thursday, I do this presentation. So please come join us for that. This session has been recorded. You will be able to see it on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist and then pick the list you want. In this case, the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group speakers. Where that red circle is, click on View Full Playlist and up will come a list of all the dates, topics, and titles that we talked about. You can go back and watch any one of them. This particular video today probably won't be up until around dinner time, as it takes YouTube a couple hours to get things loaded, and I won't be able to get it uploaded until like 1 o'clock this afternoon. So just be aware that's where that's at. If you'd like to come join us for lunch today, 11:45, we're gonna go to Mama's Pizza, 2130 West Parker Road. It's on Parker, a half block west of Custer. They have a pizza buffet, pasta bar, big salad bar, and of course, everybody's favorite is the hot cinnamon rolls. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Enjoy the last couple of days, hopefully of 100-degree temperatures, and hopefully next week we'll be back in the 90s. So Mina, once again, thank you very much. Everybody else, have a great week.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.